Hi there, I'm Michelle the Painter. Today I'm going to be teaching you how to paint waves 3 different ways. So I am going to be working on these small 8x8 stretched and primed canvases, but you can certainly work on any size substrate that you want. This is just an exercise, a practice, a study, however you like to refer to it as, just quick ways to learn how to paint some or use basic techniques to create waves in 3 different ways. For my materials today, those are the canvases that I'm going to be using. I'm also going to be using acrylic paint. The colors I'm using are titanium white, ultramarine blue, phthalo green, Mars black, burnt umber, which I like to call brown, and deep yellow. These 2 colors here are custom colors that I pre-mixed that I will show you how to create in a few minutes here. But just know those are not out of the bottle, they're just custom made. And then for my brushes today, I have 5 brushes from my personal brush line, which is Michelle the Painter brushes. I have a 3/4 inch wide as well as a 1/4 inch wide flat bristle brushes. And then I have a number 6 bright synthetic brush. I have a number 8 shader, it's a synthetic shader. And then I have a number 2 round synthetic brush. You don't need these exact brushes, but I'll show you how to use them to create these waves. And if you're painting along with me, you're probably going to want to have a cup of water for washing your brushes, as well as some kind of towel for drying your brushes. And down below this video, in the video description, I will provide you with a couple of additional resources that can help you throughout your painting process. One of them will be a link to my shop where you can purchase things like the brushes from my brush line. There's also going to be a link where you can download a free image of my final painting. So you can print that and use it as visual reference as you go through the painting process. And there'll also be a list of the suggested materials down there for you as well. So we're going to get right into painting. I am going to be using my large bristle brush to paint, but I am going to make those 2 custom colors that I had mentioned when I was going through my materials that are on my palette here. So I'm going to refer to this one as a light green color. How I achieved that was I used mostly white. It's important for me to tell you mostly white on this one. So mostly white, just a tiny bit of your phthalo green, just an itty bitty bit, and then just an itty bitty dot of the yellow. So what I'm going for is just a very light, I think some people refer to this as like a sea foam green. So something almost like a light minty green is where I'm headed with that. And then the other color that I'm going to create, I'm going to refer to as my dark blue. And that's going to be this color here. How I achieved this is mostly ultramarine blue and then brown. That's going to deepen it, and it's going to make it into a nice natural neutral blue, and then just a touch of white. So just a little tiny touch of white, and then just spin those together, and it's going to give me a nice neutral dark blue. So something in this vicinity. That's a little bit too brown. I'm going to add back a little bit more blue and just a touch of white into it. So I want it to be neutral, but I still want it to resemble blue. So this will help me. There we go. That's the color I'm looking for. So once I've got these 2 colors, I'm ready to start painting. Put my mixing tool away. So I'm going to be doing a close-up on kind of a larger wave coming towards the viewer on this one. I'm going to be doing a couple of small ripply type of waves on this one, and then I'm going to do a big barrel wave on this one. So I want to get a base coat onto these, and this one in through here, I'm going to be starting with my sea foam green type of a color, and this is going to be the making of the light that comes through my big wave. So I'm just going to go kind of diagonally in through here. Nothing fancy. You don't have to do this exactly as I'm doing. This is just going to be my formation of my wave. And then once I get down maybe an inch or so, I'm going to pick up a little bit of my dark blue to get those 2 to blend in like this. And then as I go down towards the bottom of the canvas, I'm just going to keep picking up that dark blue. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of setting the stage of my tonal values and laying down a really nice blue that's going to help me through the process. Up at the top, I'm just going to pick up some of that dark blue and go right up to where I started that wave. So something like this. And again, your wave can be a much different formation than mine. I'm just picking a nice generic profile to do it with. And then I'm just going to go back and forth to get my paint on here. Something like that. This one in through here, the entire canvas is going to get painted with that dark blue. So again, nothing fancy. I'm just going to kind of bring it down these sides so I can make sure I get those sides painted. And then I'm just going to go back and forth left to right. We're going to have a lot of different blue and green tones on this. So do not be concerned if you don't get yours a flat color at this point. That's not the intention. We're just giving it a base for us to work with. So once I've got that in place, now I'm gonna wash my brush in order to get this barrel wave. So I want a little bit of the sky to be peeking through on this. So I'm gonna wash my brush and I'm gonna do some ultramarine blue with a little bit of white on my brush, ultramarine blue and a little bit of white. And this is gonna give me a little touch of a sky up in through here. Trying not to hit my dark blue over here. So again, this is just gonna be a little peek of a sky showing through what's gonna be my, my wave later. So we're just gonna allow that to happen. I'm gonna pick up a little bit more white on my brush just to get that little area. And then I can use my dark blue. I think I want this to come down just a little bit further. I'll be able to use my dark blue to get the barrel wave in place. So that's good, like that. Now I'm just gonna pick up my dark blue. I'm a little bit lower than halfway down my canvas, and I'm just gonna go in this kind of diagonal motion in through here with my dirty brush. So there was some light tones still left on my dirty brush. And then I'm gonna just kind of curve this up in this vicinity and then back down like that. And then that's going to be my trajectory initially for this wave. You can bring this all the way up towards this top corner in through here. And then I'm going to bring this down like this. So right now I'm just kind of setting in place the direction of this wave. I'm not doing anything fancy to it right now. I'm just kind of doing my paintbrush stroke in a directional brush stroke like this. And then that's all I'm going to do for now. I am going to dry my canvases. So I'm going to, have the producer put some music on to not bore you while I blow dry my canvases, and I'll be right back. So what we're going to be doing for the next step, now that it's nice and dry, I'm going to be using my bright brush, and I want to put in place kind of all the waves with their froth and understanding the intensity of how big my ripples and stuff are going to go. So I'm going to be using this brush to put a second coat on everything, but I'm going to be deepening my colors. Like I'm going to add some of my phthalo green and my ultramarine blue and maybe even a little bit of black in through here to get my little ripples going. Down in through here, this is going to be kind of the wave coming back and crashing towards the viewer. I'm also going to have some little ripples in through here. On this one, I'm going to have two main kind of ripples coming towards the viewer. So I want to deepen these blue tones to add some green tones and some additional blue tones, and then kind of put a pass where my big waves are going to go. And then on this one, I need to kind of, I'm going to be using more of my green, my phthalo green, and my blue and my black in order to put more distinctive motion into this wave over here. I think some of the most important things to know about waves and water is the movement. There has to be movement in waves, and water is clear, and it is transparent, so it's going to take on the colors and everything that are surrounding it. So if it's clear, it's going to take on, it's going to be reflective, clear and reflective. So it'll take on, if this one is coming up from, it's kind of coming back from maybe the ocean floor, this green is caused by the dirt in the dirt reflecting off of the blue that's reflecting off of the sky. So blue and sand color, which has yellow in it, creates a greenish tone. So all of these colors that I'm going to be imparting in here are, water is clear. So these are going to be part of the sky reflections, part of the sediment from underneath the water. There are going to be shadows from the wave. I'm going to have two waves here. One's going to, as it crests, it's going to shadow onto the water because they're going to be low waves. So those are the kind of things that I'm putting in place. So as I'm doing these, I'll be putting those colors based on what I think they're going to be reflecting, or what they're going to be taking up from the ocean floor. They're also, as the waves are farther away from us, they'll be smaller. So this one in particular here, I'm going to do smaller waves, little ripples up at the top, and then as it creeps towards this main wave, they're going to get bigger. This one in through here, this top portion before it hits the first little wave is going to be pretty soft looking, and then as I come down towards the bottom of my canvas towards the viewer, my ripples are going to get bigger and more distinct. And then this one in through here, it is so close to the viewer that maybe the closest part to the viewer might be out of focus, but we'll have kind of different sizes and different textures for the motion of the water in through there. So I think I'm going to start with my darker areas, which are going to be a combination of my black, my blue, and my green. So I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of black, my green, and my ultramarine blue, all three on my brush at the same time. So on this one up and through here, I don't necessarily need a ton of black, so I'm going to just kind of make sure I control it on my brush. If I want there to be just little kind of ripples in through here, I'm just going to kind of allow myself to go with almost these tiny little peaks. Think of it as almost little mountain peaks, and that'll give me the idea of these little shadowy parts within those waves. I don't really need to do much more for darkness up in through here because I'm going to in a minute add more to the brighter color. So I'm just thinking dark at this point. Down in through here, maybe I've got a little darkness down in this bottom area in through here. I'm going to put a tiny bit of water on my brush just so I can get this to blend up just a little bit. And this again will blend into those brighter colors. On this one in through here, I'm going to pick up that same color combination, green, blue, and black. And I'm going to have almost maybe a little bit lower than halfway. This is going to be a really dark area that is going to be the bottom or shadowy kind of area where this ripply wave starts to come into the closer water to us. So somewhere in through there, and then maybe we'll have a couple little ripples going on in through here. So again, these ones are going to be closer, so I'm making them longer and bigger than the ones I did up in this top left-hand corner. And think of it as, again, little mountain peaks that I'm putting into place. I'm going to have another ripple up a little bit higher. So again, I'm using those three colors, and this one's a little bit farther away. So I'm going to make it not as wide as that one and just kind of maybe scoot this back just a little bit in through there like that. And then this top portion, I'm going to actually wipe my brush off on my paper towel and pick up a little bit more of my blue and my green. And when I say blue, I'm talking about my ultramarine, not the custom one that I had created. A little bit more of this, and you can see how these tones up here are nice and deep because I didn't add any additional white onto my brush, and I can even just kind of push this in a little bit to this guy, something like that. So that's pretty good in through there. I feel like I want to add some of these, the green and the blue right underneath this guy too. So just a little bit of the blue and the green in through here. I'll add more of that in a minute, but I couldn't resist before I go on to the other one over here. So this one again, I'm going to start with that green, blue, and a touch of black. And this one, I'm going to have this cresting wave land right on top of here. So I'm going to put kind of this dark, shadowy area right where it's going to crash into the water in through here. And then I'm just picking up a little bit more of these three colors. And then I'm going to have this darker area kind of explaining to the viewer how the direction of the water is going. So it's going to kind of come like this and up, but it kind of twists in through here. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but so you're going to watch me kind of twist it right in through here, and then this is a trajectory right up into here. So this is just creating the motion within this particular wave. I'm doing it with these darker tones, and this part here is closer to the viewer. This is the part that I was saying might look a little out of focus because it's so close to the viewer, but I can make larger dark sections. That's going to imply that this is closer to the viewer. And then I'm going to just pick up a little bit of the green and blue as I come up in through here. And then once I've got these deeper, darker tones, then I'm going to start just kind of fiddling and working my way towards the lighter tones. As I get out towards where the where it's going to start to froth over on this left-hand side, I might use a little bit different of a brush stroke, maybe a little circular brush stroke. But again, this is the green, blue, and a touch of black, just kind of getting these dark tones in through here. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water on my brush. And I think that was maybe just a little bit more darkness in through here. So it starts to add, almost like a little bit more of a bubbly type of appearance on the ones that I'm painting. You can certainly make yours whatever way that you want, but I think that motion is that important part. So now I'm still going to go with this brush. I'm coming back to this left-hand side. I'm going to add additional colors up into here. So this is going to be, I'm not going to use black anymore on my brush right now, unless I feel I need to go into darker tones. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create more blues up and through here. So I can use my ultramarine blue. That'll definitely give me some nice blue tones in through here. But I also want to add some lighter tones to give the information of the light, the sunshine reflecting on top of these. So as I'm adding some of this blue into here, I don't want to go too dark. I need to save room for my light tones. So I'm just making sure that I have deep enough colors before I start going into those lighter colors. So that's what I'm going to do down and through this one as well. I'm just using a little bit of the ultramarine blue to transition from my dark to my light. And again, that's just something that as you're working through yours, I started with almost a muted blue, which is going to allow me to build my way and have a lot of depth in the colors of the water. So I think if you just start with the one color that you think it's supposed to be, it might end up looking a little flat. So that's why I'm just adding a little bit of additional ultramarine blue into here before I start to add those really vibrant colors. So that looks good. So now I'm going to go into, I think I'm going to make a light bluish green. So that's going to be my ultramarine, my phthalo green, my ultramarine blue, my phthalo green, and a little bit of white. And this is going to give me, ooh, I like that. that's not the color I want right now, but we're gonna save that for later. So I'm gonna do, you can make so many different shades of light bluish green right now. It's once you start creating these tones, it gets exciting. Well, it gets exciting for me, but yeah, because I love colors so much. But here, this is looking pretty good as far as the light bluish green that I would like to start adding into here. So I've got, just pushing some of that thick paint out of my bristles so I'm not overloaded. So now I can start just going through and saying, I already have some of those peaks in there, and I definitely want these to look smaller as they're far away. So I don't want to paint over all of those dark spots that I've already incorporated. So as I'm going through adding these lighter tones, I'm fully aware that I still need darkness in here if I want it to look like there is movement to this water. So I can have this movement, and I can have all of it, saying that it's water and it's got all these little ripples and stuff, but I won't get the full effect unless I have those little dark spots in there. So as I'm adding these lighter tones, I am not taking away all of my darker tones, and I'm leaving it kind of smaller up top, and I'll probably add little additional things. I think I want a little frothy area over here too, so I'm just going to I'm adding a little bit of phthalo green onto my brush to kind of change this, oops, I didn't want to go into that, change this hue of the water over here as it's coming kind of towards my, and the more shallow the water is, the different color it can be. So just know that you can really have lots of different shades and tones. I kind of want this a little darker up here, so I'm picking up a tiny bit of my ultramarine blue and black, just so I'm going to have a little wave in through here. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit more darkness in through here, so I'll be able to see that. That looks good. And going in a diagonal kind of way, again, these little peaks and valleys and diagonal type of motion, that's what's going to make it look like it's kind of bumping up and it has all this motion to it. So I'm gonna blend this out a little bit more. I'll work on that top a little bit more in a bit too, but down in through here, I'm gonna pick up some of my ultramarine blue plus that lighter bluish green that I created. So something in through here, just giving this a transition between the darkness that I had down at the bottom and that lightness up at the top. I'm going more into that bluish green color in through here, and then I'm going to transition into that seafoam color. So I'm going to pick that up right now just to get these two to transition, and this is going to help me create my big wave that's going to be flopping over. So this light color that is in here is being created by the light, the sunshine shining through, and it's also, the color is being created by whatever the sediment in that water is. So I think that looks pretty good on this one, and then I'm going to move over to here, washing and drying my brush. Still working with my bright brush. I've got my dark tones in there. This one I want to have a little bit deeper color, I think, than this one, but I think I'm gonna still, so as these, the waves kind of come into this area that they're gonna crash over, I'm gonna get them to go a little bit frothy, so they're almost like ripply, and then they're gonna get into this poofy wave, and then it's going to be shadowed underneath. That's my technical terms. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of my phthalo green and that light bluish green that I just created, and I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of add these little kind of ripply marks that are going to come in through here, I'm just kind of tapping my brush going left to right. I want this to also blend into these other colors up top, which I think I'm probably going to add a little bit more of my ultramarine blue to my brush right now, just to deepen that blue up and through there. But I don't need this to have a ton of movement. I just know that when I reach this fluffier wave that I'm going to do, I'm going to want to have some additional tones up and through there, so that helped me. I'm going into that brighter greenish blue that I created too, so this will just give me a couple little pops in through here. I'm going to do the same thing down in through here. Think of it as that ripply stuff that's going to merge into the next fluffy wave. So again, when I'm doing water, I am thinking, what direction is that water moving in? Is it going left to right? Is it going at an angle? A lot of times when I'm seeing the ripples, they seem to go at a little bit of an angle. So as I'm doing these, I'm thinking, you know, just keep your eye on what direction that they're going in, and I like to build my way to the light. This is going to be, again, a fluffy wave. And then I've got some down in through here. This is also, they're going to be reflecting. I'm going to have them reflecting each other. Like this one's going to have a little bit reflection of the one above it. So I just picked up that brighter bluish green that I created, and now I'm just making some little bit lighter marks in through here. And I like these bright brushes for this type of process, because it allows me to give these kind of elongated brush strokes, but it forces me to have enough paint on my brush to create a nice soft line. So when I'm using my bristle brushes, sometimes they will thin out the paint too much on the canvas. I just picked up a little bit of black. They'll thin out the paint too much on the canvas, which will leave you with more of a scratchier type of look and an unfinished type of a look. But when you're using a softer brush like a bright brush, this is a synthetic brush, it will force you to use a little bit more paint on your brush and allow you to get these nice smooth on the fly kind of gradients. So I think that looks pretty good. We'll pop in those fluffy parts in a minute. I am going to, what am I going to do on this one? I think that this one is pretty good, but I want to add some of those lighter green tones. So I'm making some more of that light greenish blue because I liked it. So I'm making more. And for me, you'll notice a lot of times as I'm doing things, I really like to kind of work from dark to light. And this is the same thing. I mean, I'm working on these waves and I want them to take on the motion of the ocean, and for me, the only way that I can get that visual textural element is if not the only way, but the easiest way, one of the easier ways for me is to start dark and just kind of work my way to the light. I'm going up in this directional way in through here, adding this greenish blue, but not taking away all of the other bluish green or all the other colors that I put in here. And again, the important thing is to keep that trajectory. So I'm using these tones on top of one another so they will speak to each other. So the greens will take on some of the blues. The blues will take on some of the greens. As I'm coming in through here, I want this maybe a little bit more edgy and with a little bit more texture, so I can move my brush at a little bit different direction, so it takes on those kind of ripply looks as it's coming around the corner. I definitely want some of this greenish color in through here, so I'm going to just kind of start to add this in through here as this is going to meet my my large wave or my large frothy thing that's going to happen down at the bottom. So just adding these colors in through here and not taking away all the other blues from underneath. This one's going to be very reflective and have lots of shiny pieces in it. Maybe I'll have some little frothy dot marks throughout it as well. But as I'm getting towards where it's where it's going to be the fluffy part, that's where I start to almost tap my brush. And I'm going to put a little bit of this green in through here, just allowing for all of those greens and blues to just kind of talk to each other. I like that. So now what I'm going to do, well, I'm going to put a little bit more water on my brush. I'm going to put a little bit more of this green in here, I guess. When you find a color, sometimes it's hard to move away from it. So now I want to start the fluffier wave parts. Before I finish up the tiny, all the blue parts, I kind of want to get in motion the crests of the waves. So that way I don't overpaint these guys. So I want to start my actual frothy wave part, the white parts, with a non-white color. So I'm going to go with like a tannish color. I'm going to pick a little bit of white and brown, and this is going to give me almost just a beige type of color. And be certain that you go dark enough. I just picked up a little bit of black too, so it's kind of like a mid-tone warm grayish color. I'm using my 1/4 inch bristle to start this process. So again, like all else, when I want that texture, I'm using a darker tone. So I'm starting with a grayish color. I kind of want to have a wave behind my main wave over here. So I'm starting with this grayish tone to tell me where I want that fluffy part to break and to show that the water is crashing. I don't know if that's the right word. You can also kind of pull out little spots in through here. This one's probably going to be the trickiest because it comes, I'm having it kind of barrel towards the viewer. So I'm going to just have a very little bit of paint on my brush. And I want to just use a tiny bit, maybe a little bit more water on my brush. I don't want much paint at all. I just really want to be able to tell myself what the direction of this is without over painting that original greenish color that I have. And where do I want my frothy stuff to be? I'm going to kind of put it right in through here. And I'm just giving myself a couple of little motion type of brush strokes that explain the motion but don't take away that color from underneath. So I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but something like this is going to give me a little bit of motion. I'm going to have my frothy part kind of in through here, so I can use a little bit more of more paint where I'm going to have the frothy stuff happen. So something in like that and through there. And then as it comes and breaks down here, I think I actually want a little bit of more of a grayish tone. So I'm going to make a little black and white gray as opposed to that brownish gray. So this way I can have, you'll see how this affects this in through here. There we go. So this is where I'm going to have it breaking towards the viewer. So something like this, without taking away my whole colored part underneath. This is going to allow it to look like it is breaking towards the viewer in through here. And then I can kind of dot this up and through here. I'm going to have a big spot over here, kind of just breaking down this way. And then just allowing myself to use those darker tones. And you can make it do whatever you want. This is just the way that I'm doing mine, how I want it to form. And then I'm going to have little frothy stuff all in through here, so I can take my that gray color and say it's kind of frothing towards this bottom right hand corner. So I can use this. Now I'm using my bristle brush to just kind of start this little bit of what would be that frothy stuff that we typically see around the shoreline as those waves are coming in and out. And this is also going to just kind of help the viewer understand the direction. And we'll add a little bit more to that in a minute. I'm going to start with that lighter a warm gray beigey color that I had, and I'm going to put that in through here right above my black area. So something like this, and I'm just tapping because I want it to look like, I want it to look natural. I want it to look like there is different thicknesses to it. And once I've got the decided area where it's going to froth and break the most, then I can take this same color and just kind of go back into those little areas behind this wave and just kind of tap these little marks of this lighter color in through here. So that'll end up allowing, and I'll add to it too when in a little bit, but right now just kind of trying to get the idea of where I want my big wave and how I want it to transition back into the previous stuff. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one in through here. So I picked up my my gray or my tan color, and if I want this one bigger because it's closer to the viewer, or if I want to explain to the viewer that it's closer, I can make it bigger, and that will just imply its closeness, and I can leave some of the blue showing. I can have some of this really light. I can have some of it really dark, whatever is your feeling. I think the goal for me is to just try not to make it super consistent throughout the whole thing. And then once I've got that laid out and I know where I want that, I can start maneuvering my brush with a little bit more of a left to right brush stroke, just kind of dabbling this grayish, tannish tone into the area behind it. And that's going to allow it to look like it's rolling into or frothing into where it's about to crest. So again, just a little, you could also, I have a tendency sometimes just kind of moving my brush in this direction. This will allow me to get some decent marks. And then down and through here, I'm not going to have any frothiness. This is all just kind of rolling into here, but I might have a little reflection of this wave in the water below it. So I could take and use that gray color and just kind of use it as what's going to be a reflective note in through here. So I'm using a softer brush stroke. I'm thinking of it as just part of the more placid water than the roughly wave, the powerful part of the wave. And you can put a little bit of it over and through here if you wanted to. So again, this is more of what would be the reflection of that in this placid water in through here. And knowing that it's all reflections, you can certainly put little bits down in the crests of these waves too. And you could just kind of put them in more of like that peaking type of a way. Over and through here, I'm going to use that light gray tan color to start my big frothy area. So again, I'm going to have it crashing, and it's a barrel wave. So the whole, for me, I'm making the whole of the barrel as if it's the back side of my crashing barrel. You could put a sunset in here. You could put all kinds of fun stuff in here. But for simplicity purposes, teaching you how to do the wave, I'm just going to crash it. We're crashing our wave right into here. And then I'm going to have it crashing right where I put that dark mark. That's where I've got that coming on. And then this whole area in through here, I'm just going to have the crashing part of my wave. So again, I'm starting with a simplistic color of just a tannish, grayish type of a color to start this frothy part of my waves. You could use shades of blue, you could use shades of yellow, you could, depending on, if you're attempting to make it look like a specific wave, you could certainly use the colors that are in that particular atmosphere. I'm going to use a little bit of this also because I know that this part of the wave right in through here, I'm going to make having reflective colors of that crash. So I'm just kind of using little bits with a touch of water on my brush right now to get those to transpire. I might even put a little bit up and through here So just little bits up and through here. That looks nice. And then I'll put some lighter colors in through there. Maybe a little bit of reflection in through here as well. So again, I'm just thinking reflections and transparency and movement. Those are the three things that you want to think of. There we go. That looks pretty good. So now that I've got that, now I'm going to come back to here. I think I am going to be going back to my bright brush, because I feel, do I want my bright brush? No, I'm going to go into my shader. So I'm going to go into my shader because I feel like I could probably finish the blue parts now. So here, at this point, I'm just going to intensify what I already have. So if I feel that I want a little bit more of those deeper blue-green colors, which I feel I kind of do, I'm going to pick up a little bit more of my ultramarine blue and my phthalo green. And I can sit here and I can say, okay, well, I definitely feel like I want a little bit more up and through here. Maybe smaller marks now. Maybe these marks are the marks that maybe this kind of takes on a wavier type of appearance. It's all up to you how you want to kind of portray this as. But for me, I just know that as I'm going through this, I kind of wanted it to be, you know, having those deep bluish green type of colors. So that's where I'm headed with mine. And as I'm up towards the top, I know that I want those marks to be smaller. I'm doing those little peaks. And then as I get towards closer to the viewer down in through here, I'm going to be making them maybe longer type of brush strokes. Maybe you can add more of your green or more of your black. You know, whatever kind of color combination is speaking to you, you can certainly do. But once you've got a good coverage, like I feel as though that's a pretty good coverage, but I feel as though I could use some lighter tones. So this is where you can use any shades of the blue, the green, and you can pop in additional type of, that's too much white on my brush, additional kind of light marks. So I can sit here and I can say, all right, now's the time where I can kind of finesse all these little ripples that I've started. I can sit here and just add these little peaks of light marks to finesse that motion. I can put a little bit more in through, maybe I've got this kind of coming in through here, and just allowing for those additional lighter notes to say that those are the areas that are reflecting the light. They're the ones that are on the top. They're the ones that are gonna you know, help to illuminate the water. If it's a super bright day, you could have little sparkles. I could take a little bit of white on my brush and I can say, okay, maybe there's little sparkle ripples going on back in through here. If I have little pops of, you know, the peak of the water, I can just kind of pop little tiny sparkles in here and there. They could be splashes, they could be sparkles. And then when I get into this guy in through here, I could take a little bit of white on my brush now, on my dirty brush even, and just start to pop in my little splashes. I can get this to kind of go in through here. I was going to use my smaller brush to do this, but I was working on those back ones and I'm like, I think this brush will work out just fine for this little guy. But because I didn't wash my brush, so it's got a little bit of the blues and the greens and stuff in it, so it's working out pretty fine for me. So just popping those in through there, maybe a little splashy kind of coming towards here. And of course, that little section, I don't think I need to do a whole heck of a lot more to. If you felt that you wanted, you know, additional lightness, of course, just whatever the contrast, the higher the contrast, the more movement that it's going to appear that there is in the water. So if you're finding that it's a little bit flat looking for you, it's probably because you need to amp up some of your lightness or make some darker marks. So that's going to be a telltale sign if it looks a little bit flat, like there's not a ton of motion in it, that you're going to want to add those additional higher contrast in your colors, lighter lights and darker darks. So that looks, I'm digging the way that that looks up there. Down in through here, I don't think I have to do a whole heck of a lot more, except for make this foamy stuff a little bit more visible. So I'm going to use a little bit of, I'm going to take that sea foam color and add a touch of blue to it. So I'm kind of just making a light blue color for these that I can add to these little ripples. This might not be the right brush to do this, but we're gonna try it. So when I'm doing these little sea foamy ripples, again, I'm thinking that they're laying on top of the water. So as they're laying on top of the water, they're also taking on the motion of the water. So I can just take these. I don't want these to be white, not on this particular piece, because this is kind of being pulled up by the undertow of this. So I'm just kind of using it, going in that direction. So I'm just kind of pulling it up and through here. I definitely want to do a little bit more here. I'm going to pick up some of my, oh, actually I'm not going to, because I want to do that with a different brush. So we're going to stop this right here, maybe put a little bit more darkness in through here with my blue and green, just to kind of amp up my contrast down in through here, because I don't feel like it's totally dark enough. So I'm just kind of going a little bit deeper with my blue and green in through here. So that'll help this look brighter as it goes up into the see-through wave. And then I think that this is pretty good, but I just want a little bit more of my a little bit brighter green kind of coming right in through here, just so we can at least see that water. It's a little bit too dark in through there. That looks pretty good. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of the ultramarine blue on my dirty brush. Just get this just a little bit lighter. It went a touch too dark on me in through there. That looks good. And then in through here, I'm just gonna do the same thing I did over on this left side, only in a smaller scale. So my blue and my blue and my phthalo green and that lighter shade, one or two of those lighter shades. And again, I'm just allowing myself to add these little ripples. This time it's coming out from this shadowy area underneath that, underneath this wave. So I kind of want it to also blend in with that as well. So I'm making sure that this all works. And then if I needed to do anything further up into there, I could pick up a little bit more black and just allow myself the liberty of deepening any of those tones just right up in that area where it's coming out of the wave, something like that. You could add extra movement into it if you needed to or wanted to, and then extra brightness if you wanted to. I need to wash my brush though, because I just have black on my brush. So I'm going to go into one of my lighter blue kind of colors, bluish green colors, and then just add these additional light areas. So you can make them really light if you wanted to. I just added a little bit more white onto my brush. These are going to be the little foamy parts that are going to meet this larger one. But again, as you get towards the viewer, so up and through here it's pretty smooth. As I'm getting towards the viewer, down towards the bottom of my canvas, I'm making larger marks. So I'm more aggressive with pushing my brush into the canvas, so it allows for larger marks to occur. And then I'm just going to kind of get this to blend just a little bit in through here. We'll pop that fluff on in a minute. I'm kind of digging the way that this looks in through here. I don't want to do too much more, so I just picked up a little bit of one of the lighter blues just to finesse a couple of these areas in through here, but I'm kind of digging it the way that it is. So that's another thing. It's very easy to overpaint, which I find that I do quite frequently, more than I want to admit to. So just as you're going through it, if you're feeling it, if you think it, you know, you're saying to yourself, gosh, I kind of like it the way that it is, then just leave it that way. You don't have to keep adding to it. You know, sometimes it's good the way that it is, and sometimes we overpaint, we overcook it. It's like leaving it in the oven just a little bit too long. So just know that, you know, have a little control, try and refrain from overpainting. I think that looks good. And then on this guy in through here, I feel like I need some more darkness in this one. So I'm going a little bit more black, green, and blue. I feel as though I want to add more kind of darkness kind of coming in through here. And I'm just tapping my brush, but I'm continually going in the motion of that wave. So I know that I've got it going in through here. I'm going to have some reflections in through here, but I do have my dark marks in through here, but I am just enhancing them a little bit, maybe a little darkness in this corner. I want the focal point to be this, the arc of this. I don't necessarily want it to be down here. So that's where I'm feeling like I needed to deepen those tones. And then I can certainly deepen this a little bit too, right as it's coming in through here, maybe even a little bit in through here. So that looks pretty good down in through here. A little extra on this edge. And again, it's that contrast. If the contrast isn't there, it's going to be tough to get all of that information to be visible. As I come up here, I feel like I want a little bit more darkness in through here. So I'm just kind of wiggling my brush with a little bit of darkness to get this little bit of a dark area up in through here. And then this is going to kind of cascade down with a couple little darker areas in through here. And you can see as I'm adding these dark trails and I'm kind of wiggling it along the way, it's allowing for that beautiful contrast to happen. I'm picking up a little bit more blue and green. The phthalo green and the ultramarine blue, they are creating this beautiful bluish green. That makes sense. It's beautiful bluish green that I'm really digging. So I just keep kind of enhancing it and allowing for those light areas and the dark areas. This I want kind of just a little bit deeper, so I'm just using circular kind of brush stroke. And you can see as I'm adding these firmer tones, I'm still allowing for everything that I did underneath it to be visible in some way. So I love layering. I love the way that the colors create new colors as they are working with each other on the canvas. So as I'm doing mine, that's why I don't just go in with a solid color here and there. I want them all to look like they are working together. So I'm digging that. I am going to switch back to my 1/4" bristle brush, and I feel like I want to take care of this one over here. So again, this one's going to be the one crashing towards us. I don't need to do a whole heck of a lot more. I'm really looking to just kind of finesse that crest towards us, maybe a little bit up and through there. So you don't always have to go just white to get to the crest. You can see that we did some grayish colors. I'm going to go a little bit more with that mid-gray and that light bluish green to just start or to work my way to the light on my frothiness. I'm starting on this darker side down in through here. You can see it's darker than that background color, so that's going to allow it to pop a little bit. I'm not doing the whole thing. I'm just kind of introducing this color into here because that's part of the color scheme. I can also put some water on my brush with that bluish kind of tone and start putting a little bit towards that top. So that's going to pull more of that visual trajectory of the water on this top wave or on this top curve. So something like that. I feel like I want a little bit more darkness in through here, so I'm going to pick up some of that kind of mid-tone blue, something like that. And then once I've got it where I feel it's pretty representational, just put a little bit more of that blue on my brush, I can start to add those lighter, brighter, whiter kind of tones. But you can see now I'm just adding a little bit of additional blue up and through there, and I'm digging the way that that looks. So I'm going to start working my way towards the light. I have a little bit of those blues on my brush, so I just picked up a little bit of white in addition to that, and this is where I can start to kind of just pop on those brighter spots. Again, I'm trying not to overdo it too quickly. So if I want little bits in through here, I don't want to paint the whole thing white because that will take away all the beautiful details that we just did. So I'm going to just progressively get my way to there. And I don't need the whole thing to have a big white crest, so, or white froth. So I can just kind of say, okay, well, this area could use a little bit in through here. So I'm going to just pop a little bit on in through there. And then when I feel I'm ready to put some bright white stuff, I can certainly pick up just bright white and say, okay, here's going to be my brightest of my bright spot. And I can dapple it in and make that as bright as I want. If I feel I need more up and through here, I can certainly pop that in. You could even use a tiny bit of yellow, but be very careful with the yellow if you're going to use it, because that can certainly go too yellow too quick and just you wouldn't like it. I feel as though I need a little bit more darker blue up at the top of here, so I'm going to go for that mid-tone blue. I washed my brush because I feel as though I need a little bit more color in this part that's coming over to separate it from that underneath part. So that's going to help me do that. So you can still see that underneath part, but I feel as though the top part it is not really powerful enough yet. So I'm just kind of adding a little bit more to that. I could even use a little bit. I'm picking up some of that dark blue. I feel like this needs to be a little bit darker blue just to set that. I'm feeling like I wasn't being able to see this front part on top of the back part good enough, so I'm just allowing for a little bit more contrast. The thing I was telling you is really important to have. I struggle with it too. We all just need to understand its importance, and sometimes you're going through and it's like, yeah, but I don't want to add that in there because it's going to take away from everything that I've done. But it will definitely help as you go through that process to get that light color from behind to show, to make it look like it is it's valuable and it has and it has purpose, and it was it's there for a reason. And if you needed to go lighter back there, you could certainly do that as well. But I think that this looks pretty good. I'm gonna just kind of pop that on in through there. I'm gonna go back into my seafoam color just to make some little lighter parts, just pop underneath there. And then if you felt that you wanted to do anything more on this one, you certainly could. I'm putting a little bit more white just on this area where it's kind of just telling me it needs to have a little bit more white to pop over there. Yeah, that looks pretty. And then just kind of get this to blend in a little bit. And of course you could work on those forever, but I'm gonna go move on to this guy in through here, starting with, didn't wash my brush, starting with that light grayish kind of color. This one I don't think I need much work on at all, so I just picked up a little bit of white in addition to that light brownish grayish kind of color, and just popping little parts on here. I don't need to do much at all on this one because we already set the stage pretty darn well. Just pop it on just like we did with the gray, only now with a little bit of white and less white than you did with the gray. So just smaller areas, leaving some of that gray popping through so it'll give it a little bit of dimension. You could even put the motion of little pieces kind of coming down if you wanted to curve a couple and then just pop them down. That'll explain to the viewer exactly what it is that they're looking at. So white plus a little bit of my gray. I'm going to have some nice poppy areas in through here. Again, you can pull some down if you want to. That'll give just that little tiny bit of motion. But again, try not to go too white. You could bring some of that light blue in. You could bring some of the gray in, just not too white. That's probably the biggest, trickiest part about making waves, is just don't do it too white, too quick, or at all. I mean, you can do some white, obviously, but I think less white is kind of better sometimes. So then on this one over here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go with my gray plus a little bit of white, and this one on here, I definitely want maybe this top part to look a little bit more speckly, kind of going over that sky, and just kind of lightly tapping but spinning this around so I've got some good dimension on it. You can bring it, this is a real big huge splash, so you can bring it in here. If this brush creates marks that are too consistent for you, you can certainly, I think I want a tiny bit of yellow too. You can certainly use a smaller brush for those smaller marks. I just picked up a tiny bit of yellow on my brush as well, because this was, I didn't want it to go too white too quick, so I just am using those value kind of switches or changes or little differences to create a more believable type of painting. And then just tapping this in through here. I need this a little bit darker here, so I'm picking up some of my gray. So don't be afraid to just pull back into some of that gray too. You could even go into your blue and your green as you're coming into here, because this is part of this splash in through here. So you can certainly go darker when it comes to that. And then I'm going to pick up a little bit of my, I need this to be a little bit darker than that. So I think I'm going to go with a little bit of that gray on my dirty brush, so I can have varying shades of my gray coming in through here, and then just kind of allowing it to intermingle with that trajectory of this coming up. And don't be afraid to get messy, especially on something like this, where I'm gonna go for some of my dark blue and colors down in through here, so it just looks like it's a little bit deeper in tone in through here. But I was saying, don't be afraid to get messy with this. You can, it's a wave. You can always, you know, smooth it out if you want to. Up here, I'm gonna switch to my shader for a second here, because I want a little bit more of my sky popping through. So I'm gonna go with ultramarine blue and white for a second here. I wanna have these little kind of essence of my sky colors, just almost like rippling through this part of the wave, and I feel as though I should have some more splashes in through here. So I'm just kind of tapping these light colors, maybe a little bit of white. And then of course what I would do when I'm feeling like I'm just about all set is I would definitely look at mine from a distance. I might even use my small round for a second here. I'm gonna maybe switch to my small round in a second here before I call it on this one, just so I can get some little tiny white dots, because there's no water without little tiny white dots, right? So hold on one second, just kind of getting this to move the way that I want. So I'm just a little lighter in through here, because I want this to look like it's got a little bit more lightness. There we go. So I'm switching to my number 2 round, and I definitely feel like I want just some tiny little splashes. So because I built it with from dark to light, I never really went all the way white anywhere. So at the end, because I never really went all the way white anywhere, I can use the power of my white right now to make these itty bitty little sparkle splashes, or sparkles on my water, or, you know, whatever you want. Now you have the power. You have the power of the white paint. Whereas if you went too white too fast, you may never have had that power to make these light these light notes at the end here, or it would have been more difficult for you to do so. So that's, you know, as I go through my paintings, I am always conscious of that. So if I do want to pull in those, you know, those last minute kind of bright pops, I have the power to do that. I'm putting a little bit more reflection right now. You can put little reflections in through here, just a tiny bit of water on my brush with a little bit of the white remnants. So you can obviously make any little fiddling adjustments that you want. But I'm feeling like I've accomplished what I wanted to, maybe just a little bit more on here. So again, as you're doing yours, if you're coming to a point where it feels like it's too flat, I think the biggest thing is just make sure that you have enough contrast. And I said it quite a few times, and I'll continue to say it only because I know how important it is to making those things look more believable or have more structure to them. And then once you've got it done, obviously you could sign it if you wanted to. I'm not quite sure if I'll probably sign mine afterwards. And then I hope through this process you got a couple of good tips on how to make your waves, you know, have movement, have, you know, all kinds of texture to them and body to them. And as always, I look forward to painting with you again sometime.